So for our gift bag, we're going to need some interfacing, and we're using DuraFuse, which is fusible on one side. You're going to need two different fabrics, the outer fabric for the bag and then the inner fabric. So fat quarter of each, and then you're going to need either a ribbon, or you can of course cut a strip from the fabric and create, this is going to be for the handle, so you can create your handles too by just doing a bias strip and stitch it down for the handle. But let's get started. So this is one of those projects that is adjustable size, and I love that. But because I wanted it to look kind of like those gift bags that we buy in the store that actually are quite expensive, I wanted the outer part to be stiff enough to stand up on its own. So first off, you want to choose which fabric is going to be for the outer part of the bag, and that's the part we're going to attach the interfacing to. So in this case, I'm going to use my pine cone fabric for the outer part of the bag. So I'm going to take a piece of the interfacing big enough to cover the inside of this fat quarter and fuse that on, and then we're going to cut our bag pieces out. So for the bag, in the pattern, it shows you to cut your fat quarter down to a 14-inch from top to bottom by 20.5. So this can be adjusted. If you want a taller bag, you can cut up to 16, 18. If you want a shorter bag, you can cut it anywhere down to 10, 9 inches. For example, you could do 9 inches and do 2 small bags out of the fat quarter. But in this one, I'm going to make a 14-inch tall bag. That is not counting what goes into the bottom of it. And then I just have to cut the 20. So I've already cut the 14. Just need to cut the 20.5. And I just want to show you how I do that with the XL Stripology XL ruler. So I fold my piece in half, aligning the cut edges here on the top. And then I just want to take my ruler and use any horizontal line on the bottom to align with the bottom fold. So I'm using this 1-inch line here to align with my bottom fold. And now I'm just going to make a cut to clean off the edges on the 0. Cutting through the 0. I'm going to move this over a little bit so you can see it better. So I removed my piece that I trimmed off, and now I'm going to align my ruler. You can see these dotted lines to the left of the 0 slit. The second line is going to be my 1/2-inch line. So I'm again using a horizontal line for the bottom, and then the cut edge I'm going to align with that second dotted line, the one that runs right through the circular numbers. So that is going to be at 1/2. So now all I have to do is cut through my 20, and I know I have a 20.5. So there's my 20.5 piece for the lining of the bag. And no matter what size you want to make your bag, the process is going to be pretty much the same for the inner piece and then the outer piece. Now here I have my outer piece cut out. I added the interfacing to the back, so this one is going to be quite a bit stiffer. So the first thing we want to do is fold these pieces in half, and we're going to sew along the side and the bottom, just those 2 seams. With the outer piece of the fabric, the one that has the interfacing, we want to go both ways all the way. For the one that's being used for the lining, I want to start sewing, and then I want to leave an opening for turning. So I'm going to just mark this with pins, just set as a reminder for me. Then I'm going to leave this part open so I can turn the whole bag through the hole. So I'm going to start stitching up here, back stitch here, and then start again here, go down and all the way across. I want to do that for both pieces and then move on to the next step. So now we have both pieces, and now we gotta box the bottom of both the bags. So again, this can be adjusted to whatever you want, how wide you want the bottom to be. I'm gonna do these at a 1.5 inch, but you can go less and go do 1 inch, or you can do more up to 2 inches. So what you wanna do, obviously where you have seams on both sides, I actually like to clip my little corner at an angle. It'll just make everything fit better. So on this one, we just wanna go into the corner and then fold it together. I make the seams go opposite directions, and then you can really nest them together like this. And here's where we do our measurements. So fold the corner so it's now at a pointed angle. You can feel the bottom, that the seams are nested on this side. And then we're gonna measure from the tip and up the seam. So what we wanna do when we are measuring is make sure that we have a line, a vertical line on the seam. And then I'm gonna go to my 1.5 inch mark. The 1.5 inch mark is gonna be right at the tip of where the seams meet. And then this line is on the seam. So now I know I have a perfect perpendicular angle here. So I'm just gonna draw a seam line here and secure it just by clips to hold it in place for me to sew it. So I'm gonna do the other side. Now on this side, I don't have a seam to line it up against, but I'm gonna make a little crease here. So I wanna make sure that when I fold this back and pull out the corner, that the seam is gonna land right on the bottom seam here. So making sure that this seam is also following the same angle as the other one. And so we are perpendicular right here. Folding this out, measuring from the corner 1.5 inches. And I can draw my line. We're gonna do that also with the outer piece of the bag. And it's going to be a little bit stiffer with interfacing, but it actually really holds it placed nicely. So let me go ahead and do that. Folding it out, making sure you pull all those seams out, falling in opposite directions so you can nest them. And then we can measure from the corner 1.5 inches and draw our line. This is going to be our stitch line. There we go. And then on the other side, I'm going to have to rely on just the crease again. Make sure you pull this all the way out. And I want my seam to go this way. And making sure it folds with that crease line so I can get a right angle on my box bottom. Sometimes a little bit harder to get that interfacing to behave, but once you do, it actually molds so nicely. So here we go. Find my spot. So now I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch right along all of those drawn lines and then come back and finish assembling the bag. So now we're going to just trim the seam allowance to 1/4 inch on both parts of the bag. The lining is going to stay this way for now, but we are going to turn the outer part of the bag right side out. So I'm just going to push this through and really push my corners out. And you can see what I was talking about, the bag having that box shape, just like the paper bags we buy, so that it can stand up and have a nice sharp shape there. Now, we are also going to tuck this inside the lining piece. So I like to have the seams on the same side just so I know that they are going to be aligned perfectly. So I just tuck this inside. So the one thing I want to align is the two seams. So just make note of where the seam falls here in this seam. Make sure it falls the same way. Same thing on the inside. And then you want to make sure that these get clipped and don't move. So then you can know that the rest of them are going to get aligned correctly. So you can now clip the other side. But before we do any more, we want to insert the handles. So I'm going to use this ribbon, but you can, of course, like I said, use anything you want. Just going to cut this apart, and these could be long, it could be short. I wanted these just pretty short. So however you want them, you want to make sure if you hold this straight to bring the ends in like this so that you have a nice handle so you don't twist it. And in my opinion, I would say about 3 inches apart, 2.5 to 3 inches apart. So I like to just lay this on my mat because I know that this is 10 inches across here. So I know my 5-inch mark on my mat is the center. I can mark my center and then I can go from there. So if I want them to be 3 inches apart, I can go 1.5 inches from here and mark my 1.5 inches here, 1.5 inches here, and I can just do that on the other side too. This is just the fastest and easiest way to do this. So 1.5 inches, we are going to put it here, and we're going to put it here. So now I can just take my handles and tuck them in here right where I want them to be, and either clip or pin these in place. So there, and I just want to make sure I don't twist my handle. Just go like that, tuck it in so it doesn't get caught in the seam. And so that's all we do on both sides. So now our last part of the puzzle is we're going to sew along the whole outside edge, securing those handles inside our seam. So now we've sewn all the way around, and last step is turning our bag. So we're going to find our opening that we left in our lining, should be here on the side. Find our opening, and we're going to pull the whole bag through our opening. So we'll find our outer piece actually, and pull that all the way through. And there we are, and all we do is tuck our lining right back inside and then push the corners together. And your lining is going to be just a slightly smaller because I like to leave a little edge at the top. You could fold that down if you wanted to and have it all the way folded down. I feel like it adds a little decorative edge to have that on the outside there. But before we finish this off, all we have to do is catch that hole in the lining. So what I do, making it easy, I just make sure that the raw edges get folded in like this, maybe bring the iron on it, and then I just want to top stitch right along here to close that. I tuck it back in, and if you want to, is completely optional. You can, if you don't want to do the work of sewing it, just press the edge. You want to press the edge to make it nice and sharp along the top edge of the bag. But of course, if you wanted to secure it in place, which would be great because this is going to be a reusable gift bag, you can go ahead and top stitch right along that edge to secure it, and then you have your gift bag ready to go, filling it with whatever gifts. I hope you enjoyed making the G-Easy gift bag. A reusable gift bag is always going to be used over and over, and such a pleasure to receive one of these. So this is my 14-inch one that I cut at 14-inch height. If you want a little taller one, here's an example of a 16. And then if you wanted to make 2 out of a fat quarter, here's a little one cut at 9. So they are so cute and just perfect for any kind of gift. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.